Good morning and welcome to another episode of Eat, Smoke, Drink Coffee edition. Today I am going to take you through a Gesha coffee. So this is by Rocket Roastery here in New Zealand. So as I told you before, my preferred filter roast is actually light to medium, okay? Just because I find that it's the best balance between getting the roasted characteristics and letting the bean's natural flavor come through. So I've had a shitload of coffee since the first video that I've done. A bunch of us, we're splitting coffee bags so we get smaller portions and so we can go through more, different ones. That's the best way for me to sample different types of coffee. But anyway, this one is a slightly different one. This is a PLUMA Hidalgo Geisha, okay? It is Mexican from Oaxaca. So I'm actually going to be visiting Oaxaca. So I'm hoping that I can somehow find a way to PLUMA Hidalgo farm. I would love to visit this PLUMA Hidalgo farm. Altitude of 1,200 meters. This is a washed Gesha crop from 2022 by Rocket Roasteries, okay? So all of the other Geshas that I've had have been a different region, Panama, Colombia. So this is the first Mexican one that we have had. So let me nose the bean. Well, first of all, the bean appearance, lots of different sized beans in there, and a wide array of different colors, so they're not all super dark. Some of them are slightly lighter than others. I quite like that. I don't know if they feed the roasting machine in different stages to kind of get that spectrum of roast profile, but that's what I would do if I was roasting coffee. That's an idea. That's what I would do if I was roasting coffee. I would do that. But anyway, that's that's not what we're talking about here today. So let me sniff. There's a distinct sweetness to the bean. There is a sugary sweetness. It says here in the front, Turkish Delight. I definitely get that. I don't get the lavender. I don't get the pear nectar, but there is a fruitiness to it, but I get the Turkish Delight. Like a rose water, syrup, sugar, icing sugar. There is a nuttiness to this. Roasted cashews. Roasted peanuts. You know what? I am getting that pear, like a pear. I won't say pear nectar, but I'd say a pear jelly. You know, the pear jelly that you put with your cheese. That is actually a very good on-point nose. I like it. A slight note of burnt butter, some molasses, slight oiliness. Very, very slight woodiness, very, very slight leatheriness, subtle nose. Definitely a light to medium roast. There's a gentle spice. I can't put my finger on what it is. There is a dehydrated plum. Like a, there's plum powder, but there's definitely a butteriness to the nose of the bean. All right, let's smell the brew. From the get-go, from the start, the brew is much spicier, woodier, and nuttier than the other geishas that I've tried, okay? Straight away, I can smell that. The roast comes through, even though the bean roast profile is very, very mild, on the coffee, the brew itself, it does come through quite a bit more compared to the bean itself. That's what I love about it, the disconnect of nose and flavor to the brew, to the taste. Let's see how it goes. There is a medicinal herbal note to it, a very deep herbal note to it. A little bit of licorice, a little bit of black pepper, roasted nuts are still there. Like a hint of roasted peanuts, some roasted cashews, but definitely medicinal. Like I would even say there's like a drop of cough syrup medicinal, like some Benadryl in there. I'm not getting the lavender that they say is in there or the pear nectar on the nose, not at all. In fact, the sweetness is not translating to the nose of the brew. which also I love. Keeps things interesting. There is a distinct oiliness to the brew. I can smell an oiliness, a volatile oiliness. I can't put my finger on what that oiliness is, but it's definitely an oiliness sensation in my nose. Like an over roasted popcorn with a little bit of butter. There's a slight meatiness to the nose as well of the brew. Very, very different to the other geisha. Now, just to put it in perspective, the other geishas are about 2.5 times the price of this. Okay, that's why I got this, because I was like, wow, value for money. This is the same as any other bean. Now, apparently it's because, hey, look, geisha in Mexico is not as sought after as it is in Panama or Colombia or whatever. And so, but I was like, well, hey, look, let's try it out, right? Why not? Let's get sipping, eh? Very pleasant. On the palate, there's definitely a sweetness, but more of a burnt sugar, burnt caramel, a slight hint of salinity. I don't know why. There's salinity in there, but there's salinity. I can taste a clay. I can taste a clay on the palate. Once again, I don't know why. I can taste a clay, a distinct clay sensation. I don't know if the soil in Oaxaca has some clay content on it. No fucking clue, but I can taste the clay. The Turkish Delight is definitely back, okay, but this time the Turkish Delight is coated with a slightly toasted, almost burnt coconut. Really, really bizarre taste compared to the other geishas. This is very ballsy compared to the other geishas. The other geishas are sour fruits, sour cherries. This is very, you still get that sour fruitness, but it's actually kind of so subtle that it's so easy to miss. It is more caramelized, burnt sugars, nuts, earthiness. There is a leatheriness to this, like an old leather that spent a lot of time in front of a fire, like a low and slow leather apron. Like, you know, like when you're using the same apron for a long time and it's been infused with sweat, low and slow barbecue smoke for years and years, that kind of smell. This is a ballsy geisha compared to the other geishas that we've had, okay? I mean, this is now the the fourth geisha I have tried. And out of all of them, this is ballsy as hell. I wouldn't even pick this as a geisha, but it is certainly different to the other beans that I've tried. It is very complex compared to the other geishas, and it's super, super ballsy. And the palate is also very viscous and thick. Now, what's your feedback? Tell me, do you think it's the altitude that's making it nuttier, earthier, leathery, and ballsier? The other ones are much higher altitude, like 50% higher altitude. I have no clue. I like my whiskey tastings. I don't care what barrel, I don't care whatever. Do I like it or not? The answer is yes, I do. I like it. It's tasty. It's very different to the other coffees, but it's definitely not your geisha. The three geishas that I've tried so far have very similar paths. This one is like that side, you know, very different. So I like it. It's tasty, and what I like the most about it as well is that the value is fantastic. Until next time, make sure you eat, smoke, drink, and caffeinate. Cheers.